Who is ready to step up? Will it be Luke Cornett? Will it be Xavier Tillman? Or will it be Neemias Queta? Well, Brad Stevens reveals his master plan for that last spot in that Celtics rotation with Kristaps Porzingis being out for a couple months at the beginning of the season. And we're going to dive in and look at why this plan is a fantastic one that the Celtics should be implementing this season. Welcome back to Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez. I want to say shout out to everybody that has tuned in to the channel, has shown their love and support. Let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack. And first off, we're going to be diving in, looking at Brad Stevenson's thoughts on the big man depth. And before we even get into this video, I got to give a huge shout out to our boy Bryson Akins over on Thunder Digest. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a Celtics fan, go and show Bryson some love because this video would not be possible without him. He goes to school at Emerson in Boston and was able to ask Brad Stevens a question for us on Celtics Digest, which was able to get us a fantastic quote that we're going to be diving in and breaking down. So if you don't follow him on Twitter, follow him on Twitter. Go check out his YouTube channel. And if you do, go say hello from Celtics Digest. I would really appreciate that from all of you. But like I said, let's dive into the video at hand. Let's talk about what Brad Stevens had to say about this front court depth, because this was a big question that I think that needed to be addressed. With KP being out for the first couple of months, with guys like Jordan Walsh, guys like Xavier Tillman, Neemias Queta, Luke Cornett, all being in that room alongside Al Horford, there is going to be some competition that is going to be happening. And we obviously know Kristaps being out, we'll most likely get to see Al Horford step into that starting role. But with Horford sitting out in some back-to-backs, we'll have to see some experimenting. So I wanted to know what Brad wants to see and expects out of this group fighting for that last roster spot as that, kind of really back up big on some nights. And he says that they've got a lot of good front court players. Still with KP out, as we saw throughout the playoffs, I would guess Horford plays a little, I guess, and laughed a little bit with that, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Then he went in and discussed some more, saying that he likes Queta, he likes Cornette, and he likes Xavier Tillman. He likes all the things that they bring to the table. He looks at Walsh as more of a wing, similar to Springer, Walsh, and Baylor Shireman. They weren't guys who were in our top eight last year, and it's a hard climb to get into that top eight, but they should be able to chase those next opportunities and be pushing for those opportunities with this Celtics squad. So when I see that and when I hear that, that kind of really puts this into a limelight for me. It kind of makes me understand that Walsh is a wing in this system. They're viewing him as a three, as a four, and playing him in a little bit of a different role than they will that big man position. Guys like Springer, guys like Sharman, guys like Walsh will be competing for the, that wing-esque type of position. And Brad still feels confident that they can get there. Guys like Queta, guys like Tillman, guys like Cornette, those are going to be the guys competing alongside Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford to fight for those minutes and to get these type of roster spots. Now, with Porzingis being out for a little bit, like I mentioned, we will get to see a little bit more, I believe, of Tillman, of Queta, of Cornette through the start of the season. And when Kristaps Porzingis comes back in December, maybe even January, we may see them to start to fade away from one of those players, kind of take away minutes from each of them, kind of sporadically give them all some ultimate chances to run. But that will be a discussion that we have once we get to that part of the season. Brad still does feel confident in all three of these guys, and I still do too as well. They all signed veteran minimum contracts. They all came back to the Boston Celtics, and that is key for showing that this team wants to stay as a unit and feels that they can all win again. Look at teams like the Nuggets, who have been breaking up, losing players since they've won their championship year after year, and the Celtics have only lost one at this point in Svi Mykhailiuk, and still could go out and still bring back O'Shea Brissett if they do want to with that last open roster spot. Let's dive in and explore more of Brad Stevens' quotes, like I mentioned. Brad kept diving in more on this front court group, saying he loves the front court group. One of the things that they tried to do in the offseason in the Tillman trade was get one more person like Al that could switch and defend guards. We wanted to play that way when they wanted to play that way. In the Cleveland and Miami series, they did not want to play that way as much, but in the Indiana series, they tried to play with that a little bit more. But then when it was versus Dallas, it was good. Good for us, as Tillman had a big impact game three specifically, where they felt really comfortable with Tillman being on the court. And that's obviously the big game where Tillman hits the corner three. Everybody jumping up on the sidelines, panning over to Jayson Tatum and Svi Mykhailiuk having this crazy celebration. And Tillman obviously talking some smack over to that Mavericks corner as they're telling him he is gonna miss. But Tillman really came to life. A lot of Celtics fans who didn't know who Xavier Tillman was before that game definitely knew who he was after that one and are very excited to see him be able to return with this squad. Exactly, so am I. Brad also says he likes how all those guys play. Those guys are all comfortable in who they are and how they impact us. First off, Brad Stevens, thank you so much. Great, fantastic quotes here over here. And shout out to Bryson once again at Emerson, who was able to grab this quote for me. He texted me and was very, very thankful that he was able to do this for us. But like I mentioned, Brad really likes Xavier Tillman and thinks that he can be that type of Al Horford-esque type replacement. As he kind of just stated, they looked for another big who could switch, guard those smaller guards, and also could be lethal from three-point range. And even though Xavier Tillman in Memphis hasn't been the best three-point shooter, we saw in college at Michigan State, and we saw with the Boston Celtics in the second half of the season, that his jumper was getting better and more smooth for him to be able to hit those shots and get those opportunities. Like I've been preaching since the start of the off season. If Tillman is locked in that gym with Al Horford working on that three all off season, like we saw before every single game in the regular season and playoffs, this man is going to be averaging 40% from 3-point range and be the mini version of Al Horford and be that replacement. And I could see the Celtics getting players similar to those type of molds, bringing them into Boston when they already have these older esque veterans like an Al Horford, possibly like a Jrue Holiday in the future, and finding those younger molds that are going to be those younger representations to continue to grow with this Celtics team and can be able to continue to fit into those roles and stick into those roles that automatically help their superstars in Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who they definitely want to ensure sticking long term in Boston. Personally, I'm very high on Tillman as well, and I love that Brad Stevens is rising that bar alongside with me. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section about this Brad Stevens quote, and how do you guys feel about these three big men for this Celtics team? But we're going to dive into a little bit more, talk about what do I expect out of these guys, and what do I expect from hearing this quote from Brad Stevens. Ultimately, what this kind of brings to me is that all three of these players are going to be gifted that opportunity to play and will get their time to shine depending on the matchups. With Tillman, it might be a night where Horford is out on a back-to-back. They're going to look to Tillman more because they view him as that Al Horford replacement. In a night where there is no KP and there is no Al Horford, you might see a lineup with Luke Kornet and Tillman or Queta and Tillman trying to find that vertical presence and rim protector that they would have necessarily with Kristaps Porzingis if he was in that lineup. And without having Al Horford and him there, they definitely need that tall vertical presence to be able to rim protect and to be able to shot block. Tillman is a great shot blocker in his own, but I feel the likes of Luke Kornet and Neemias Queta could do that on a higher of a scale than a guy in Xavier Tillman. Like I said, all three of these big men have specific roles that they all specialize in. Queta is a fantastic lob threat, vertical threat, offensive rebounder, high energy guy who's never going to give up, but has some tendencies to foul and not be the best at finishing at the rim. Tillman is a switchable defender who is very solid on sound on that defensive end and has a solid three-point shot as well. That three-point shot comes into more fruition. He gets more comfortable in his offensive game. I can see like a guy, Xavier Tillman, becoming that replacement. And then again, Luke Kornet, another player for the Boston Celtics who was a fantastic rim protector, was grabbing those rebounds, blocking shots, and just doing what he needed to do for the Celtics team to win. All three of these guys, I think, are going to make key impacts for this Celtics team. And in a night where they have, Horford with no Kristaps Porzingis, you might not see as much Xavier Tillman, but might see more of a Luke Kornet or Neemias Queta. Like I said, all three of these guys present great qualities for this Celtics team, and I think could really show out. Like we said, looking at Xavier Tillman, 5.3 points, 3.9 rebounds, pretty decent shooting percentages, a little lower last season than usual, but I think this season those will go up. Luke Kornet, around the same averages as well, up on points, up on rebounds, up on assists, up on that field goal percentage and 3-point percentage as he only took as he took one 3-pointer. And Neemias Queta, obviously 5.5 points, 4.4 rebounds. Didn't get the most experience of all these players for this Celtics team, but I think has the highest ceiling to hit out of all these players. Truly, I really do believe in Neemias Queta. I think that he could be that backup big for this Celtics team. And I think with Kristaps Porzingis being out, this is going to be his time to shine. Like I said, Brad kept all these guys on veteran minimum contracts. They felt like they wanted to be back. We're happy to be back. for them to be back, and I can't wait to see what they can bring out. Joe Mazzulla is a fantastic coach. He's going to utilize all these guys depending on different matchups and what kind of scenario they're playing in against a different team. And I trust Joe Mazzulla, I trust Brad Stevens, and I trust all three of these players to stand out and blossom and look like key players for us with Kristaps being out. But like I said, thank you to Bryson. Thank you, Brad Stevens, for answering our question over here on Celtics Digest. We really do appreciate that. Once again, I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and checking out this video today. So make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to make sure you stay up to date on everything revolving around this Celtics team. We're less than 400 subscribers to our goal of 6K by the start of the season, and we're a little over a month to the season. We'd love to hit that goal. You guys are the best. Once again, I'm Bruce Veliz. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and go Boston Celtics.